But it's crazy to think that when you think about, this is a misconception that I started to realize that I had, that when I travel around the country, because we've probably, and I just said this recently, but touring comedy, we've probably done the top 200 cities size-wise, right? Like some comedians, they go to 50 cities, right?
Sure.
And they go to we went as many places as you could go. And we still have more to go. But I mean, like, anywhere from like, Lubbock to La Crosse,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, just we to Fargo. I mean, we're going to medium-sized cities. And you always think like, oh, well, there's factories everywhere that make things and stuff like that. There's not.
No.
There's not. And you think, oh, well, I'm sure there's always, when you're flying on an airplane, you're like, oh, I'm sure we're passing thousands and hundreds of thousands of factories that are making products and sweatshirts. We're not.
No, it used to be, I mean, the Rust Belt in particular, like that part of the Mid-Atlantic, those were factory towns.
The tetanus belt, too, they called it.
The tetanus. Well, I mean, it was, there's so many rivers up there, and so the mills were by the rivers, and so the factories were near the mills, and the cotton was spun there. But this guy Byard, he's actually become a friend of mine, and he's on a mission, and like flannel, like hand-dyed yarn in flannel was something like those old thick flannel shirts that we grew up with. You can't get them anymore. So American Giant started making those. They started making these hoodies. And the more I read about him, the more I liked him. So he's become, like, he's in my world now because I tried on my podcast. I'm not there yet, but I'm really trying to make sure all the sponsors have an American-made story. Just because, why not? See, the thing is, man, if Trump succeeds at the reshoring effort
with the tariffs.
Yeah, that's part of it. But if in general he gets manufacturing reinvigorated in this country, then there's going to be a challenge that like a lot of people aren't talking about, which is labor.
Right.
So in January there were 482,000 open positions in manufacturing in this country. Right? 480,000 open positions. If he gets his way and this all gets reinvigorated, you're talking about 2 or 3 million new jobs. But there's no workforce sitting there going, this is what I want to do.
Or prepared to do it?
They're not. So there's a skills gap for sure.
Okay.
But there's also a will gap.
Right.
Donald Trump is going down a road, and if he succeeds, he's going to create millions of manufacturing jobs in a country that currently has nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs open because the people who run those factories can't find people who want to do the work. So it's not enough to create the jobs.
Right.
And look, a lot of your listeners are probably thinking, well, make the pay better, make it more interesting, make it more palatable. And then we can have that conversation for sure. But the bigger issue still is there's no enthusiasm for the work. We took shop class out of high school. We robbed kids of the opportunity to even see what that kind of work even looks like. Meanwhile, we told a whole generation of kids they were freaking screwed if they didn't get a 4-year degree, right? And so people say, Mike, how did college get so expensive? I know you know this, but nothing has gotten more expensive in the last 40 years than a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
Not real estate, not healthcare, not energy, nothing, right? And so we keep telling kids they're screwed if they don't go in this direction. We free up endless money to loan them. So now you got $1.7 trillion in student debt on the books. You've got 7.6 million open jobs right now, most of which don't require a 4-year degree. And here's the other screwed up part. You got 6.8 million able-bodied men who are not only not looking for work, they're out of the workforce and not looking.
Right.
So all of that together, we've never seen that before in peacetime anyway. So something beyond the tariffs, something beyond policy is going to happen to make 22-year-olds go, yeah, man, I would consider doing that.
Right. From my perspective, after traveling around the country, I don't know how else you're going to get jobs back here because there's a lot of towns that are boarded up. There's a lot of small cities that are boarded up. I mean, a whole city. Yeah. You walk through the city of Jackson, Mississippi during the day, it looks like a movie set. It's very clean. It's beautiful, but there's nothing. And that's one of 40 probably cities that we've seen that are like that. So I'm just thinking, what's going to come and save these cities if something needs to? And so then you start to see Trump put these tariffs on, and then you start to get the idea, well, it's to bring jobs back so we have jobs here so it keeps cities busy.
Yeah. And so it's two different conversations, I think.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm not an economist. In
Me
fact,
neither.
I don't know an economist who thinks tariffs are a good idea. I really don't.
I don't know an economist.
I know a couple, but the ones I'm most interested in are like slightly right of center where they don't agree either, right? So like everybody is either having a conversation about whether or not it's a good idea economically. I call that like a tier 2 conversation. You're having a tier 1 conversation. You're saying, well, wait a minute, what if there's something in the country that's actually more important than the economy long term?
Right.
What could that be?
The economy of the human spirit, I think.
It could be that. And, you know, I get all kinds of grief for this, but I think it's a fair analogy. I think about, I think about slavery in 1870, right? And I think about the conversation that was going on in the country. And a big part of it was, wait, if we get rid of this, do you have any idea what it's going to do to the economy? Not just for the South, which would collapse, but for the North.
Who's buying all the products.
Who's all dressed in cotton.
Right.
And of course, there's the triangle trade, molasses, rum, slaves, right? This is an eternal wheel that had been going on for time immemorial.
Yeah, dark rum, where do you think that came from? You know what I'm saying? You put a couple, you know?
I think I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying you mix a few items and you got that's the best rum they got.
It's good rum. But if you fundamentally were to make the slavery decision based on nothing but whether or not it was good or bad for the economy, well, we'd still have slavery.
Right.
So we got to a point where people said, wait. This can't keep going.
This isn't human.
That's right.
Right.
And so it was bad.
Right.
The economy crapped the bed. We fought a war. A lot of people died. And I don't mean to sound glib when I say it. I don't know what the real ramifications are going to be. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do think that the reason people are talking past each other with the tariffs is because some people are saying, look, it's a tax, period. It's not good for global trade, which is true. But if if you're trying to transform Jackson, Mississippi, then you at least have to elevate the conversation to this other set of consequences that might happen if you shake the whole thing up.
Right.
Now, I put a big asterisk on that, i.e. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I do believe that there are unintended consequences and intended consequences. And the consequences of messing with the tariffs are probably both.
Right. So you're saying that if the tariffs work, right, part of that is going to have to be that we're going to need people who can do the jobs, do the manufacturing jobs here. We're going to need those skilled labor workers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we don't have all those right now. We need them. We don't have them. How do you, so we almost need remember that Uncle Sam poster, like, I want you, like we need that PR campaign to get people hype, because I think that's the one thing that connects our audience is just there's this way that we feel, and a lot of it is hopeful, right? And so that's the side that I choose to err on when it comes to the tariff stuff. It's like, I have no clue. Like, if it doesn't work, what the fuck, what do we lose? I believe that we are at a severe crossing point right now, where if another generation without like a sense of purpose, it's not going to matter. Nothing's going to matter anymore. There won't even be enough of a person inside of our grandchildren for it to matter too. Like, even if you bring the gasoline, there's not going to be enough of a amp inside of them to even spark it up. It's like, even I think the human spirit is a muscle, right? That's how I feel about it. And I feel like it's always there, but it's like the stronger that we work it and the more that we encourage others to work it, you know? And it's scary, man. I think people don't realize it's scary, but then I think part of all of us realize that something scary is going on.
Well, the stakes are big.
Right.
I mean, $37 trillion in national debt. That's the national debt.
Yeah.
$37 trillion. Most people, like, you really don't have to be an economist. You don't need a pedigree to understand that that's getting a little wobbly and it's not sustainable. So something radical has to happen. Something really unpopular is going to have to happen.
Right, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable.
It's going to be wildly uncomfortable.
But what's going to be way more uncomfortable is whatever's after that. It doesn't even sound human to me after that.
I'd go back to the slavery thing. I mean, the idea of getting rid of that in 1860, right? It was so many otherwise rational people who were walking around, influencers of the day with columns and people giving oratories and speeches, really smart people were saying, we can't do this. The country will collapse. And other people were like, well, then let the heavens fall, because that's a hill I'll die on, right?
Yeah.
So every now and then something rises to a place where you just can't talk about it the way you'd been talking about it.
Right.
And look, man, I really wonder 150 years from now what our great-great-great-great-grandkids will be saying about us. Like how, right, like what will be the slavery of today? Will it be the fact that we let our country become completely dependent on other countries who really don't like us much? I mean,
no, they don't have any care.
It's insane. If you only look at the economic ramifications of a tariff, that's not much different than only looking at whether or not you like your job based on what your paycheck says.
Yeah.
And if you take the bait on that, the next thing you know, you're going to be having an argument about UBI, universal basic income, and you're going to get sucked into this whole conversation about, well, what are people going to do if there is no work, and we ought to just pay them not to do anything, and then you've got all kinds of moral and ethical questions.
Yeah, kind of. But
it never stops.
If at a certain point, you have to invest in your own country and your own people, the spirit of your own people. And I can't understand how that's not extremely evident right now. And if UBI, if universal basic income helps people to get by for a couple years or 5 years while like things adjust from going from let's try to build stuff here in our own country and make people feel empowered, and as if they're part of an assembly line of humanity and of purpose and of a nation and of a group think of a moral code, then I think that's totally fine. Let's stop giving money to other places who have enough money right now and help our own people out for a little while. You know, and I know I'm opening up bigger cans of worms, but yeah, it's just I am all in, because if you don't do it now, to me it appears like it's kind of going to be a wrap. But I still believe that there's that human spirit, that there's that team spirit, there's that that whatever made those people, whatever that thing is to be an American, even if it's not even real, but that we believe in it, there's still that inside of us that makes me believe that we could turn it around.
That guy, Bayard, who you brought up, he's a Wall Street guy. And 16 years ago, he said, no, his family came over on the freaking Mayflower, just so you know. Wow. That's who this guy is. And he said, nope, redo. I'm going to build a company called American Giant, and I'm going to prove that this country can still make quality clothing. Now, that's a very personal mission that could only be embarked upon by a genuinely hard-headed dude, okay? But 16 years later, they're still standing, and they're doing it. They're proving it, right? Now, can you do it to scale? This is a whole other conversation.
Right. We'll talk about it another time. We can. But yeah, can you do it to scale? What pieces have to start? But you have to start somewhere. It's like the crazy person. The leader was first the crazy person. The revolutionaries were first viewed as insane, always.
It's not just that. It's every great accepted truth today began as madness.
Yeah.
It was dismissed, and then it was grudgingly considered, and then it was slowly accepted as fringe, and then it was more widely believed as possible. and then it got a consensus, and then it became the truth, and then it became the self-evident truth.
Yeah.
That's how it always happens. It's going to happen with every single thing right now, from tariffs to climate change to meat eating to addiction. All the things we think we know about all of these different things are in a state of evolution.
I agree.
And I don't know where or how it ends, but I'll tell you this, man.
It's exciting.
We are long in certainty today, and we're very short in understanding. And it's just going to take time. It's just going to take time to be as certain about these other things as we are about slavery. You know, it takes time for people.